Kia ora tātou katoa. Sir, I rise to speak in favour of the infrastructure bill, but as our whip has said, with a heavy heart, because it has stripped the most important dimension out when it has decided that infrastructure does not include one of the most valuable commodities called shelter. Sir, without allowing for a transparent process, this government has circuitously stripped a very innovative approach to housing, which required councils, when they were dealing with their resource management schemes, planning provisions, to allow for the council to impose on those developers, perhaps many of whom have created the leaky home drama, to observe, sir, an obligation to the wider community. But unfortunately for all home seekers and the broad community, this government has sold them out. We are prepared, however, sir, in the spirit of driving infrastructure forward, to overlook such an egregious failure. So that causes me now to come back and identify why, sir, this bill will be supported by us, because there is very little debate that if we are to create an improvement, sir, in our productivity and also levels of innovation, much of which, sir, is related to the concept known as agglomeration. This is a concept that where networks of people and capital are concentrated in an area, otherwise known as a city, soon to be called the super city, so entrepreneurialism, development and creativity flow. And infrastructure undergirds, so much of what we hope to see as a consequence of more people being able to innovate. And for that reason, sir, infrastructure is regarded by this side of the House, beyond cavil, as an essential ingredient to enabling our country to achieve its full potential. We don't, sir, indulge ourselves in these foolish, vacuous statements such as catching Australia. We're more interested in husbanding our indigenous resources, developing our own people, sir, and isolating those areas of infrastructure that are going to create a real step change. Now, this is not, sir, funding 7 highways or suddenly announcing Korpu Bridge so it can bear the weight of the trucks carrying the new, hitherto unknown, undisclosed bounties of mineral wealth, never, sir, placed before the nation. But let me come back, because infrastructure is a key ingredient, sir, and this is the infrastructure bill in such broader debates. Now let's focus for a moment on the usefulness of a code. There's a potential contradiction, sir, in the notion of a code being enforceable at the level of the district court, yet really being an exercise in voluntary participation. Not the government's usual style, sir, which is forced participation. So we look forward, as a consequence of this bill, that the participants in the infrastructure industry will be able to cobble together a usable code. And there is provision, sir, where if they do fail the test, because they're currently, apparently, all focused at the moment on seeking opportunities in these fairly foul beasts known as CCOs in Auckland, largely the handiwork, sir, of the Minister. However, it's important that a code comes into place so that the red tape which has afflicted this area of the economy can be sorted out in the confines of a code. And where you have, sir, participants who either won't play by the rules or who are going to game the rules, then there's the opportunity for them to be policed, there's the opportunity for them to be corrected. So as you know, one of the reasons why infrastructure will be roundly supported by us is that we saved Auckland from gridlock. We did that, sir, by laying down foundation planks for a long-term strategy which was invested, sir, in public transport. It's sad, sir, it's sad that up and down the country, every provincial council, and indeed one of my councils in the Tai Tokerau, Kaipara, have bitterly complained to us that in order for the current Minister of Transport to build Korpu Bridge, to bear the weight of this circuitous mining exercise where somehow you don't need diggers, you don't need trucks, you don't need carryalls, all you need is needle-like precision into the side of a mountain, and then in some way Dr. Spock, the physical character represented by the Minister on occasions, is going to spirit away all the minerals. No, sir, it won't happen like that. That's why public transport, sir, is being starved, but the provision of public transport requires a very efficient process of allocating scarce resources, and this is a sensible contribution in that regard. But the provincial councils are being starved, sir, and this bill has little to say, unfortunately, as to why they are being put on an ugly diet, something perhaps that members of the ACT party ought to have been put, or could be actually putting themselves on, but that's another matter. So, sir, the code is important, and we agree with that. But we do, sir, put on record considerable concern with this fixation on highways and the deprecation of the importance, sir, of either public transport and the winding down, sir, the winding down of our railway system. Now, we know Mr. Stephen Joyce, sir, Mr. Stephen Joyce and other members, they are antagonistic to Kiwi Rail, and the reason that Rail Corporation provisions, sir, are being changed in this bill, and I would direct the Minister's attention, sir, they have the ability to change the manner and the number of directors that are being appointed to the Railways Corporation. That's because they're shafting Jim Bolger. They're shafting Jim Bolger, getting rid of him. Sir, a great patriot, that man. He breathed life into the Treaty of Waitangi settlement process, and despite some misguided views, sir, about a host of public policy issues pertaining to social matters, so he has been gutted. He has been gutted by the Rat Pack, sir, and led by that salesman of Brill Cream, otherwise known as Stephen Joyce, a business that will never, sir, never ever prosper. So, in relation to the changes that are made in relation to the attitude of local government to utility network providers. Local government has a great deal to answer for, sir, which is why we elected to establish the Royal Commission. And it's actually widely known, sir, that a pipe covering the distance of 7 or 8 regional local authorities, rather, in Auckland, had to change dimensions, and this slowed infrastructure down. So what has happened as a consequence of our Royal Commission, unfortunately hijacked by Rodney Hyde, we were aware of the infrastructure deficiencies. We actually laid down, sir, a pathway how they could be addressed, and in a very weak and timid fashion, because this is a government that talks loud, sir, but actually acts very timidly. So they've enraged those people who don't like their rhetoric, and they've disappointed those who are looking for bold action. But we know that, sir, will be contested next year. So, sir, this bill largely is supported, in fact, overall supported, with the caveat that it has stripped the heart of social housing out of the infrastructure debate. And that's as I said, that's an egregious failure, but we're prepared to overlook it. Sir, local government working more effectively with the investors in the utility scene and infrastructure can improve infrastructure outcomes. But, sir, not if it represents the degradation of public transport, the deprecation of Kiwi Rail, and the ongoing assassination led by Tony Ryle and Stephen Joyce of that great patriot of right-wing politics from the King Country, Mr. Jim Bolger, who unfortunately is having his name and reputation besmirched both openly and secretly in Auckland by the current Minister of Transport. But we are prepared, sir, to allow this bill in the spirit of unity to progress to the next stage. Kia ora tātou katoa.